live in the county and potentially work in, Whitehall and Muskegon and different places.
And become taxpayers.
Correct. A lot of people would, this is a beautiful place to live. There just isn't any inventory.
Yes.
This question doesn't directly relate to the question, but I guess it helps me in the application process for these homes. Is there going to be exclusions to, hey, you can't buy this and then sublet, rent it out, or turn it into a full-time Airbnb? Or
it's a fantastic question, because we've actually the county will see it in our articles. Brian Monton is writing up our articles that we're going to have on file with the county. So it has to be homesteaded. You can't own more than one.
Mm-hmm.
You can't rent it. You can't Airbnb. We had all those specific pieces in there.
Okay.
And then the nonprofit developer is going to subsidize the home itself. So if it costs $178 to build and we sell it to $135, there's going to be a grant through the community foundation for the individual buyer, and it depends on their income and their credit score and etc. And then there's going to be a clawback clause, so they can't profit from it, meaning they can't sell it 2 years from now. They're going to have to pay back that a portion of prorated grant. So you can't be a developer that buys 10 of them.
Right.
You can't have your little apartment if you live in Chicago and this is your place to, hang out. No.
Yeah. Great. I think that just helps, knowing that the charity can't be leveraged to be taken advantage of and really kind of screw up the whole plan, the purpose behind it. So
can I also tell you, besides Kitty Tunster's group that's here, that nonprofit developers is a FOSS in Michigan. A good 95% of them are for profit, but they make from their finance arm. They have a 501(c) from a brick and mortar perspective, but then they have a commercial finance arm that finances the 501(c) and the building development, and that's how they make their money. Having interviewed 42 of them. And Doug, that's why the state is struggling with our nonprofit, because we are truly one of the only nonprofits.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My last question, Mr.
Yes, Mr. Walker.
It's a curiosity question.
Yes, sir.
Is this land division or site condos?
Site condo.
Okay, thank you. So you have all your restrictive covenants in the site condo.
Correct.
Cover all of Mr. Beggs'.
That's exactly what Mr. Beggs brought up. We have a lot of restrictive covenants in the site condo, without restricting people's rights, if that makes any sense. So.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Very much.
Thank you.
I guess.
Yes, sir.
My opinion on this at this point, I'm favorable, but I would like to pause and maybe not take action on this today. Research with the Drain Commission. Let's make sure we have the authority to do this first. I think that's an important question. And then just investigate. I think if my memory serves me right, the building department fund is roughly 350,000 balance right now, 350,000. I guess I'd just like to make sure we've done our due diligence and looked at that fund balance critically, and just verify a couple of those things. Just my opinion.
I think Mr. Morris made a very good point that it would be a lot easier if we had a policy on how we actually handle these. So if somebody comes into us, and that policy may reflect something, a certain percentage of the whole project too, the cost of the whole project. It just so we move forward, fair and equal treatment. And I think that, and so I'm on board with Mr. Beggs. Let's just step back for a month or so. But I think we should put a sunset on it, no longer than the second meeting in February, we'll have a decision.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Erickson, yeah, I agree, Phil, that I think if, you know, there's certain for-profit developments, and then there's non-profit developments, and if we could establish some type of ground rules, that might be a better way to handle it in the future, because I'm sure at some point in time, we're gonna have some for-profit entity come back and ask us for the same thing, which I probably would not be in favor of, but this is kind of a different situation, that if we had some defined guidelines would certainly help. Yeah.
And these tools are new to us also. You know, this is a completely new tool that is being utilized all over, and we need to recognize that this won't be the first time that we will be asked to approve a nonprofit development. And if we act accordingly and we entice this sort of development to happen, it will only benefit the problems that we've been talking about for years, and that's our low income housing.
Right.
And these are new homes rather than living on Pine Street in Shelby or in any one of the other streets in Shelby that are 100-year-old dwellings that are in need of repairs and upgrades and things of that nature. This will be its own community, which it's needed in Shelby badly.
But I also agree with Commissioner Beggs and Mr. Walker that we should do our due diligence and then come to a final solution in February.
And part of that key, I've just found out recently that most of the lending institutions, I had 8 different construction loans where I built houses when I was doing them. No problem with construction loans. In Oceana County right now, if you want a construction loan, you have to have 25% down for the cost of the building. And that makes what this nonprofit is doing a lot more, you know, feasible for somebody, because not everybody has that 25% down.
Especially first-time home buyers.
Especially first time.
You know, and when I was in the business, we bought private mortgage insurance for that 5% down person, and we also had a structure for a 10% down person and then a 20% conventional. And very popular to have private mortgage insurance for first-time home buyers. But when you look at a mortgage that's going to run up $1.25 or something, now we're looking at a pretty healthy monthly payment. So, yes, sir.
Can I just provide some clarification, just so we're all clear? Is the charity is paying for the house entirely, and there's not gonna be any construction loans. So the house is finished,
Okay.
and then at closing, you buy the house. So, which again is a little bit different than a traditional development.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Erickson.
Yes, sir.
And I look at our strategic plan that we created a year and so ago, and one of the goals was to be a friend of local investment and development. And what's more, you know, of a local development and investment than this? You know, I want to support this 100%. With that being said, what I talked about earlier with the policy and moving forward, we also need to look at that. So I think we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I guess one thing, just to kind of, Mr. Walker, what you said about 25% down for a construction loan, that's a bit of an indication too for our building permits. You know, there's always remodel permits, but new construction, we may see that slow for. That's not something a working class family is going to have to go build a house. So we need to keep that in mind too as we look at fund balance of the building permits or building department and whatnot too.
And along with that, I was just told yesterday down at Lakeshore that if they help people with loans for vehicles, they're 7% now. vehicles, and I'm sure that new housing construction, for somebody trying to do it themselves or buying, is probably pushing 5% now. And I don't know that for fact, but I knew here a while ago they were 4 1/4, and I wouldn't be surprised if 5. So the whole package is a very, very good package for anybody.
Right.
You know.
And can I just add one more thing? I just see this sending a message to, and we need housing, affordable housing, and it sends a message to developers. Hey, this county board is supportive of this. You know, it says, hey, we're open for business here. You know, I see that too. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Ms. Biard, transfer station gate fees.
We had a discussion about the proposed fees that were provided by American Classic, and I went out and researched some of the other transfer stations to get some other costs, and that was the spreadsheet that I sent out to you. And I just wanted to look through that, see if you wanted to set some of these rates, if you want to go through them, how you would like to handle that.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
May I?
Please do.
Having been involved with this, I took the liberty of doing, some thoughts and proposals. When the administrator did check with the other places, the second one on the list was Croton. That's actually Croton Township in Newaygo County, and American Classic actually operates that transfer station. So.
Which one?
Croton.
The third column that's on there.
The third column on the original list. This one that you got today, Mr. Hardy took the proposals that I had just, recommended, and he put those all in one line. Mr. Hardy, you had one other comment on that.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Erickson.
Yes, sir.
When I went through, a couple comments here. When I went through, I agreed with Commissioner Walker on some of the reductions. If you look at the American Classic of what they're actually charging now for bags and things like that, I concurred with him that the rate should see, those should be the current rates. So I basically took Mr. Walker's notes, and I think you guys all everyone got an email with that thing on it. The only other thing that I did was on the concrete, and that's down towards the end of all the documentation. On my compilation sheet, I put not accepted for clean and dirty concrete, and I just thought that was something we should discuss a little bit. There are several places around here, Wadles for instance, Halleck's for instance, Adams, that take that to basically crush it and reuse it, and it just seemed rather odd. And if you look at some of the information that we received from Southwest Kent County, Muskegon, Osceola, none of them take it, other than I think, was it Croton, or no, Croton did, yeah, Croton did at $25 a yard, but I didn't see any reason to spend money to have it rehauled someplace to have it processed, when in our county there's several people that will take it, and I don't believe that Wadles or Halleck charge for.
And if I may, in the southern part of the county, White Lake Excavating.
Oh, yeah.
Will take all the concrete anybody will bring to them. These companies, all of them build roads. They crush it and they use it for their road base.
So I thought, it's really kind of silly to charge somebody to haul that to a place that's going to crush it anyway. So on my compilation list, I put not accepted, not accepted. You may all look through, the sheet that Mr. Walker, Tracy emailed, and also the main sheet. And those were the numbers that I came up from the old rates to the new rates. So that's the draft that you received, single page draft.
I must say, Tracy made this very easy for me, having been involved with the American Classic people. When she reached out and got all of these numbers, I know there's a lot of time spent doing that.
Yeah.
But it sure made it so we can make an informed decision. It sure did help.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the plastic bag. You know, a lot of people, it's a major effort to go to the transfer station with any bags. And, you know, if they get there and it's gonna cost them $60 for, you know, 4 or 5 big bags in the back of a truck, that might hurt the little gal that's pulling it out of the back seat or out of the trunk.
Right, yeah.
Thank
Craig,
you.
can you send me your list?
Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry?
I don't have a
Mr.
copy.
Yes, sir.
Can you send me your list?
There's more up there
Oh.
by
Or
the
email it
podium,
to me if
too.
you want.
Oh,
Was
we
there
got-
another one? Okay.
Yeah, I can email it to you as well.
Oh, that'll work, thank you.
Okay.
In addition to what you said, if they decide it's not worth their $6, $12, $15 to dump that garbage, it's gonna be in a ditch somewhere.
Right.
It's gonna be on the
Not
back.
not everybody, but
Enough.
some. And that's not acceptable, so.
Yes, sir.
One other thing, and I should mention this as well, for the trailers, boat trailers, travel trailers. That was another one that Mr. Walker put as do not accept, and I put on that new list not accepted. It's kind of the same thing. I think you run into a lot of issues by doing that, because what boats are you going to get? Are you going to get boats with inboard, outboard? What do you do with the motor? What do you do with the oil? There's a, you know, what's in the camper? What's, you know, I know there are places that will take those, but I think it's more apropos not to have it at like a local transfer station. That's kind of a bigger issue to dispose of.
That is something that American Classic said their big grinders and shredders can grind those those fiberglass boats, you know, but that doesn't mean that if we entered the partnership with American Classic, we can't reverse that later.
Sure.
But we have no way of dealing with them.
Yeah, currently, I think it's a no-brainer to say, no, we don't accept them.
Right.
You know, if we move forward and we have something on site where they've got it purpose-built and they can handle it, great, we'll, you know, more power to them, but right now,
We got a mess.
we'd be foolish to accept
Yeah.
that stuff.
We've got a mess.
Yeah, it'd be a mess.
Yeah, Tim's Boatyard.
Well, and the thing is too that, by setting these rates, you're increasing the rates, so that's going to help operate the transfer station right now. And then once, if we do decide to hand that over to American Classic and they decide that they wanna accept those, then that's something that we can add to the,
Right.
to that
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, it's simple to add it later.
Yes. So naive question, why don't we accept tractor tires?
Well,
Alright, is it like just a nightmare?
tires are a nightmare.
Okay.
Tires are the worst thing in the world.
Car tires and light truck tires, they have machines that'll cut the beads off them. Tim, you can probably answer that question better than I can.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure why they wouldn't want to accept semi and tractor. They get hauled away from my shop on a regular basis, but it may be a different process that they do with them or something like that. But it's costly. I mean, the size of the tire, you can spend $75 to get rid of a tractor tire.
And the handling them is difficult.
Right, yeah, they weigh 300 pounds a piece, so.
And if they have a steel wheel in the center, and,
Yeah.
you know, like Jimmy does, he crushes them, and the wheel goes in the scrap pile, and the tire goes in the tire pile, but then
Right.
you've got 1,000 tires that could potentially be a tire fire, like we've had up north many times.
Right, yep.
Yeah, they're a mess.
My only other just observation, and I would say recommendation, is with pickup trucks with trailers, no shingles, full-size pickup, 6x10 trailer, $60. Why not go 15 from there? Why is a 6x12 and 6x10 the same amount?
I have no problem with that suggestion at all, Mr. Morris.
Well, just to give you a little information too, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but, American Classic uses those shingles for their recycling program, and that's when they grind those up for dirt roads and put them on the dirt roads so that it hardens. So it's not really a paved road, but it's
Right.
almost like it's paved because it hardens so much.
Thank you.
So Phil, you were asking on that, shingle loads,
No shingles. So the pickup trucks with trailers, no shingles. As 6x10 trailer, full size pickup with a 6x10 trailer at $60. Then we also have a 6x12 trailer at $60. My suggestion is $15 per foot after the 6x10. So a 6x12, we want to have to differentiate that then.
So just have 2 tiers.
Right, exactly.
okay, so just adding the $15 per foot there after 6x12 and.
After 6x10.
Yeah, after 6x10 and then, okay.
Yeah, I see the others all have a standard fee, but if it's cubic feet, it's cubic feet. And
Right.
Then you would, just do away with the, any larger trailer?
well, it could be by the foot.
Right.
Trailer by the foot.
Right.
Or the cubic foot.
The only thing I wanna do with the $15 a foot isn't bad. I'd like to keep it as simple as possible, you know, going into it, you know, till we get, you know, used to this, because ideally, if we have a scale, all of those are gonna go away.
Yep.
Right.
And since we're talking about that, I was gonna bring this up during my administrator's report, but Lola, who works for American Classic and does the recycling for them, ran across another grant, a short time frame, which we will be bringing to the board if we do get it, but for roughly $100,000 for a scale for out there.
Good.
So, yeah, very nice.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So you're changing the full-size pickup 6x12 trailer? Are you changing that?
Changing that to read $15 per foot there after, 6x12. So it shows $80 for the 6x10, 80 for 6.
So I say, yeah, just delete that one row right there. And then change it to 6x10.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what I did, so. Yeah, it reads the same basically as the one above it. And then I took out the larger than. And that probably gives them a little more direction out there too as well to, you know.
Thank you. Anything else?
The only thing I'd like to say, Mr. Erickson, is our fees went up drastically. We can't, we have no choice but to raise prices
Right.
when our fees took that. And the fees that increase that we took was because of the increase at the landfill, the tipping fees at the landfill. So we can't allow it to trickle down on us to cover the cost.
Thank you. Ms. Biard, request to collect indirect costs from the Indigent Defense Fund.
So right now, there are several funds that we collect indirect costs from right now, and we do not with the Indigent Defense Fund, and I'm requesting that we be allowed to charge back the fees for indirect costs that are placed in the cost allocation plan. And for this year it's $10,319, and I believe the amount for next year would be roughly $22,000. So that basically takes into account any work that administration does, or the treasurer's office does, the clerk's office, as it relates to that department. So I'm just asking that we be allowed to put money back into the general fund.
And if I may, our administrator has been in contact with Karen
Moore.
Dr. Moore, and she said that she feels as though if we adopt this in an expedient way, that she can get the reimbursement put through right away too.
Very good. Thank you. Oh, Ms. Biard, recommendation for the reappointment of Mr. John Foss to the Planning Commission.
Well, I believe that's self-explanatory. We're asking for a reappointment of Mr. Foss to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Well, go ahead, Mr.
No, this is your meeting.
I'm on the planning commission, so is Mr. McKeon, and he probably is gonna speak to John's, contribution to the group. He's very insightful. You know, all of you probably already know, he is the Lakeshore Hospital, or whatever it's called now.
Trinity.
Shelby Hospital.
Trinity.
Yeah, Trinity, campus, Shelby campus. He's the executive director there. I don't know his title. Anyway, he's in charge there, and he does a really great job of providing insight and asking good questions. He has a good perspective on things. So, yeah, highly, 100% recommendation that he be reappointed.
Thank you. Ms. Biard, recommendation of the reappointment of the Animal Control Officer and the Deputy Animal Control Officer.
Their appointment has expired, and we are asking that you reappoint them, please. Because I don't want to do that job.
Very good, thank you. Oh, Ms. Biard.
That's a statutory thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
every 2 years or one year?
I believe it's every 2,
Okay.
according to the dates that Stacy gave.
Interesting.
Can we reappoint them until we no longer want to reappoint them?
I don't know why you couldn't, because I can honestly say that in Clare County, we never appointed them. I don't know, Craig might even have more information on how that all works as far as the animal control part goes, but
I know several sheriff's offices have the animal control. I'm really not hoping for that. I hope you guys reappoint them right where it's at.
I can tell you this, when I first came on the board, as the least seniority person on the board, I was in charge of a committee that oversaw the animal control. And looking at what we have now, we are very, very fortunate with the animal control officer and our sheriff, very responsive.
100% agree. Yep. Mike Garcia and his assistant do a fantastic job out there, and they save a lot of animals' lives. They replace a lot of animals. They do a really good job.
In a nice facility.
Nice, beautiful.
Yep.
Yep. As those facilities go, it's
Yeah,
the best.
we've got a good one. Thank you.
okay.
Ms. Biard, appointment to the Michigan Workforce Development Board.
I don't know that this necessarily needed to be a resolution or a motion, but Cassie from the Michigan Works office contacted me after our last board meeting and asked if somebody had been appointed, and this agency was not on my list of appointments, so she asked that the board appoint someone to that, one commissioner to that board.
Did we
Good.
have somebody on there previously?
Martha was on
Martha
it.
was on there.
And Larry Biles was on before then.
How active is Michigan Works now?
Well, I'll tell you that I reached out to them. We had a workforce development meeting the other day and started asking some questions as it relates to our open position in my office and asked if they would be able to help us get that posted and get the word out, and by the end of the day she had the position posted, and they were throwing it out on Facebook for us as well.
How often do they meet? Anybody?
She did not say, but I would assume monthly. Let me reach out to her and I can
Okay.
find out.
Thank you, Craig.
I will mention to the board members that the lady from Farwell who came over and asked us to put, put somebody on the board over in what, Central Michigan, is that what it was?
Community Action Agency.
Community Action, they cover this county, and I asked our administrator to wait a few months till we all got our feet on the ground on all of the committees we have now, because Farwell's a long ways away.
Well, and she said that, that is a, Zoom meeting for those that are a long distance way.
How do they vote?
I don't know. I just know that that's what she told me.
Absentee ballot.
Mail-in.
Well, in a Zoom, you just can raise your hand.
Yeah.
Ms. Biard, recommendation of the reappointment of Ms. Lynn Cavazos, Ms. Ann Pauley, and Mr. Larry Bile to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority.
We received an email from Tracy Blamer asking that they be reappointed to the Brownfield Authority.
Very good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be any public comment?
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Did we add?
Oh,
Plumbing inspector.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Plumbing mechanical inspector.
plumbing mechanical, thank you very much.
Yep.
So, most of you have probably already heard that, of the passing of our current, plumbing and mechanical inspector. We got word yesterday.
Oh,
And we have 336 open plumbing and mechanical inspections, fees, permits right now, so we need to get somebody in here to, take on those, inspections. And we have the name of a gentleman that, his name is Jim Callender, that would take on those inspection services for 30 days for us, for $50 per inspection.
Does he live in Rothbury? If he does, and we can get him, he'd be a very good person to come in.
So I know we can get it, he doesn't wanna do it full-time, so, he'd do it one day a week. And I am requesting that the board allow me to negotiate a contract with him, just for that 30 days, so that we can get somebody in here until we're able to, advertise and get someone else in here.
330
336
in process.
in process.
Are we behind?
No,
Not at all.
no. He was doing inspections twice a week. So if we can get another person to fill in, on that second day, we'll work toward that too, so we don't get behind.
Okay.
Did Randy Miller have any thoughts on it, anybody?
Stacy had been in contact with Randy Miller, and this was, someone that he...
Came from Randy?
Yes.
Yep, that's,
Well, Randy is in charge of that office, so if we have the recommendation from Randy and the recommendation from the administrator.
Seems like a good,
Yeah.
a good option to have to
Right
fill the
now.
gap.
Right, yep.
very good.
And, our plumbing and mechanical inspector's name is Rich Story, and his father was the one that had contacted us yesterday to let us know, and said that, he would easily take on that because he used to do that for us, but, he had just had surgery, so.
I think Rich did Lake County and part of Mason County also.
Mm.
Yes.
Sure. And I know Kevin Griner goes north also, so these guys are everywhere.
Right.
Public comment?
Not public comment, but as department chair.
Yes, sir.
Parks. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Couple of things I just wanted to make you aware of. We have written an RFP, which is due back, I think tomorrow actually. This would be basically with we're looking for landscape architects to design out what Black Lake could look like in the future. There's a Spark grant that we're going to be coming to you, and we're going to try to apply for it once we get the RFP in line. And we look to probably ask for over $1 million out of the Spark grant program. So initially, the ARPA money that you've given us, and thank you for that very much, we've been able to do the electrical upgrade. We've been debating as to where the pavilion will go. But with the Spark grant being added, we look to actually make the park ADA accessible, the whole walkway. So literally paving through the wooded area down through wherever we're allowed to go, quite frankly. So I know this is out there, but a Spark grant, which is $65 million that the state of Michigan has put out there, there are 3 different settings. There was a $15 million that happened in December. We weren't able to get into that. Another one comes up in April, which is for $30 million. And then the one in the summer will be another $30 million. So we hope to apply in the second round, the $30 million. So I take that back, the numbers don't work out. So it's 20, it's, what is it, 15 minus 60, what is that, Phil?
45.
45, thanks, all right. So that breaks out that way. We do feel pretty confident that we have a good shot at it. Spark grants are designed primarily to be for underserved counties. We fit into that, we believe. So we're working on that, and I did want to make you aware that the tire situation in the county, like the Oceana Conservation District does take 3,000 tires a year out of the county for free, and all they have to do is call the Conservation District and make an appointment and drop their tire off.
Or tires?
We do not. So we had this discussion just the other day at our board meeting, and the problem with tractor tires is because they're so big, you can't get enough into a truck. There's so much open space in the center. And tractor tires are a tough one. You almost have to have somebody with a sawzall that cuts them up right there on site, or bring them cut up. And that's the best way to do it. So semi-tires get to be tough too, because they're so large and they take up so much space. But you know, when you consider 3,000 tires out of the area, that's considerable. And we know of farmers that probably have as many as 6,000 and 8,000 tires that are stashed on their property in various places, and every year they bring in 100 at a time. That's the maximum we'll take. But we could literally take a whole truck out to a couple of farms. One other thing I wanted to ask is, when you're considering revising fee schedules, I would ask that you take the county parks out of the fees for building. So when we built the Cedar Point Park deck and stairs, we had to pay the full fee for that. That's public property, it's public use. I don't believe it should come out of our budget when it's a county piece of property. Same thing with the Doolittle shelter, which is now finished completely. We had to pay for that. So every time we go to build something, we do have to get a permit, which is understandable, and Randy does come out. But I ask that the county consider revising that to some point where we don't have to pay the full fee or just scratch it altogether because we're a county entity. Last but not least, the item that was struck, I had a call from a woman, family lives in Pentwater. They're considering donating a 10-acre piece to the county for possibly a park. It's premature to say that. The Village of Pentwater Planning Commission is debating as to what might happen with that property. So it was premature at this point. I just was wanting to make Administrator Viard aware of what we're doing, and opportunities do come to us regularly that we have to consider. So thanks for that.
Well, and I thought a little bit more about this, and being that there is a road that should be condemned, that's a village road and not a county road, so
yeah.
The avenue may be easier than the discussion that we had.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's in the village, and the family owns a cottage that they built in 1900 roughly on Bass Lake. Go back a long way up in the area, and there's a whole nother story to it, but so we'll see how it goes. Well, I'll be back, probably one way or the other. Anything else? Nope.
Thank you for what
Thank
you
you.
do.
Any other public discussion? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.
Take a little short.
Take 5 now? Yeah.
Okay, take 5 for a
Then
minute
we'll
before
turn it
we
over to Mr. Beggs.
jump into.
Mr. Hardy.
Say,
And Tracy.